Yeah. Ay. Yeah. Ay. Yeah. Boys. Yeah. Hold on, hold on. Hold on. We them boys. Hold on. We them boys. Hold on, hold on, hold on. We making noise. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Hold on. We them boys. Hold on. We them boys.
Welcome to Trashy Ring Attire. I am BD,
And I'm Q.
and it's time to get trashy.
Definitely.
Man, there is a lot of stuff going on that nobody really has any idea about, but no one will shut up about.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
Paige and Del Rio,
yes.
I see that shit everywhere, but nobody actually really knows what's going on.
Well, a couple of things came out. I mean, I know they're engaged, and Paige's father, posted on Facebook, I do not want my daughter to marry that man. And that's about it. That's all we really know.
Yeah. It all seems so weird. And it seems I've seen the most bizarre rumors about Paige and stuff like that. Like I don't even particularly want to talk about. I just think it's like a weird situation, and I think we'd be silly to talk about that before we actually know what the hell's going on. You agree?
Yeah, 100%.
Same with this whole TNA thing, although I know our TNA segments is basically me talking to myself while you give that sigh that I love. And I'd love to be able to talk about one of the owners of TNA suing TNA, but there's just not enough actual facts.
I mean,
the
facts change every time. I know a while ago it was okay, so Corgan, he invested money into the company, and apparently he thought he had ownership of it or part ownership of it, and apparently that's not what happened. I don't know, and
from what I can see, and we don't have to spend a ton of time on it, TNA had recently signed agreements with, remember how we talked a little bit about TNA potentially being sold to the Nazis?
Yes.
The Nazi company had terms of repayment. They lent TNA money, and Dixie said that if they ever failed to make payment, that they could have the company, which is I do this type of thing for a living, and I can tell you that's one of the stupidest fucking agreements you could possibly sign, especially when the company that's lending you money to your wrestling company is comprised of former wrestlers. Jesus, who would have thought the Harris brothers would be savvy businessmen, but apparently compared to Dixie Carty, they are. And then Corgan bailed them out for a really minority, as in 1% minority stake in the company.
Yeah.
But apparently he also has an agreement that if they do an event of default, they made him president after that, but that doesn't really mean anything if he doesn't have any actual equity.
Exactly.
But apparently if there was an event of default where he's allowed to assume control of the company too. So I think the argument hinges on what the actual event of default was. And that's all terms of repayment. We don't know any of that. We can't intelligently discuss that.
No.
I am ridiculously interested, just as a finance nerd, I am ridiculously interested to see where it ends. And I would like to talk about it, but there has to be an actual end to it first.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's really everything we could bring up is speculation because every single party involved has a different story.
Yeah,
exactly. There's nothing confirmed at all. And I mean, at this point, TNA could probably last for another year or two.
I'm just frankly shocked that the Broken Hardys have not managed to save it with all those awesome segments they've been doing.
Well, didn't Matt Hardy say he wanted to buy the company?
He did. I don't know if that was the weird meth bath salts character that he's in now, or the other funny thing that I read was they're gonna do I don't know if it's a Christmas episode, but it's around Christmas time. They're doing a full Impact at the Hardy compound, which of course the fans thought it was this fucking brilliant thing that they were gonna do a whole. But no, it turns out they couldn't afford to pay the arena, so they're literally doing Impact at Matt Hardy's house now. I mean. They're only doing it a couple of times, but I read that TNA just continues to bring out the good stories. It's not in the actual show, but oh my lord, I don't understand what's going on anymore. They're apparently in court as we speak, as we actually record this. It's
Oh, really?
Wednesday midday. They're in court. I'm seeing some stuff on Twitter, but I mean, I'm gonna wait for a nice, detailed actual listing and not some wrestling nerds pretending that they know how finance works, because
Exactly, yeah.
how Vince McMahon was supposed to go to jail a couple of years ago for launching the WWE network.
Mhm.
So I'd rather hear it from the people who don't go down that road. There's really not a whole lot non-WWE going on right now. Roderick Strong got signed. I am super fucking happy about that.
Yeah, that was actually. I feel like it was a matter of time though. Like, Strong was the only one out of the TNA talent outside of I guess.
Daniels.
Yeah, basically.
Daniels and Kaz, and
Daniels, Shelley was signed at some point. I don't know if he stuck around.
I don't know what happened there. I always heard that he was, but then I never ever heard any details. As we know, Shelley and Homicide are the two that I really want to make it, But it's not a perfect world. Not anyone can make it. But I mean, who would have thought we would have had this much talented TNA/ROH guys in WWE?
Seriously.
Like we're way ahead. So I'm really not going to complain.
Definitely. I mean, at this point, Shelley and Hernandez and
Hernandez or Homicide?
I mean, I like Hernandez. I like Homicide too.
Yeah, I'd take Hernandez.
Yeah, I like Hernandez. I mean, given that, like, I'm sure his stuff with Matt Morgan was not stellar, but I think we can put a lot of that on the blueprint.
Yeah, the blueprint.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I forgot about that. I blocked that out.
But yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. It's really good to see Roderick Strong. It'll be interesting to see how NXT kind of, like, I don't know how exactly NXT can, like, make this not a rehash of good TNA.
Well, but that's okay, because not a lot of people saw that.
Well, that's true. That is true.
I would take good TNA, and without having to watch Jarrett and Rhino as the main event. Like I just would.
That's true.
Nothing against Rhino. He's doing lovely things with Heath Slater. But, So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I get the impression that they're somewhat beefing up that roster so that they can have a few more call-ups, kind of the ones that we thought we might get when they did the draft that they didn't really do other than Balor.
Yeah.
And Bailey.
I mean, it's pretty obvious, especially if you see the women's division. They just, like, signed Mickie James. They didn't have anybody to... on Asuka's caliber that would look like a credible threat. But they have some time to do that now to build people up. It's going to be, I mean, I'm glad they signed Mickie James. I was always on board. She wasn't like, she's not as stellar as the women who came out of NXT. Obviously she's not a Sasha Banks or Charlotte, but she was always a pretty decent worker. And I think that Asuka can definitely carry her to a good match.
I'm not even entirely sure. Like, I think Asuka's the better wrestler without question, but I'm not exactly sure Mickie James. I mean, I don't know so much about her current condition, but Mickie James is one of very few people, and I'll admit it, had a better run in TNA than she did in WWE. They used her quite well. She had some great matches with Tara or Victoria.
Yeah.
She did a lot of what she did was nonsense as well, depending on who they had her work with. But I think just the positioning of her as sort of a centerpiece worked very well. I always have a soft spot for that. It was like one of the one times that WWE actually did something progressive with Mickie James. I think it was at a WrestleMania, and they had like somebody calling her fat or something like that. But Mickie James was the face on that, and I legitimately wanted to see Mickie James beat the shit out of that girl.
Yeah, I think it was Michelle McCool and
that sounds right.
And Layla. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that sounds right. I like that. I always thought Mickie James was a little bit underrated.
Oh, definitely. She was definitely underrated. I think I did enjoy her in TNA, but like as much as like her and Victoria have always wrestled, and they've always wrestled well. That's not surprising at all. Victoria is one of my favorite female workers. But it'll be interesting to see how her dynamic will match up with Asuka, and if she's staying longer with the rest of the new batch of women wrestlers in WWE.
Well, I think she can. I think she can have a place there.
Oh, definitely,
You know,
definitely.
I don't know for how long. I don't know if it's sort of like a Rhino thing. I
Mhm.
dug what they've done with Rhino.
Oh, definitely.
They've shuffled him back in. Like I was never like the biggest Rhino guy, but he can hold his own.
Mhm.
And they've kind of shuffled him in almost quietly to the point where Rhino's on the show and it's normal to you. You don't remember when he came back or how. Like once you really have to think about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think he's perfectly placed.
Yeah, I like Rhino with Slater, and I mean, even if he had a solo run at this point, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. Um,
Yeah.
I think he's savvy enough in the business that he knows that he's not going to be booked as world champ, but rather enhancement talent. And as long as they book him properly as that, yeah, more power to him. I like Rhino. I mean, I know he's been voted into Congress. Um,
Yeah, that's
so
weird. I haven't. The rest of what's going on down there has sort of shifted my focus away from Rhino's political dealings. But just sort of touching base with SmackDown real quick.
mm,
I was listening to Classy Ring Attire, and I've been reading some stuff online. I think it's pretty unanimous among most people that SmackDown is the better show
yeah.
at this point. Now, I want to ask you your opinion on this because Joel asked the question, and it was an interesting question.
Mm.
How much? Because I agree, SmackDown's a better show. How much of that do you think is because that there's an hour less? Do you think that's the biggest? I think it's definitely a factor. Because 3 hours of wrestling drags.
Hmm.
It just does. Unless it's the best card in the world, and those cards are out there, but they're rare, and they're certainly not happening every month, let alone every week.
That's true.
So how much of that do you think is because SmackDown is 2 hours and not three?
I think it would be naive to think that it's not a factor. But the thing is, like, even with SmackDown being 2 hours, and even with it being the superior show on Raw, there are still like lull moments throughout that show.
Yeah.
Not every week, but it's not surprising when there are. I think it's just the matter of booking. I think the issue with Raw, more than the 3 hours, even though that is a factor, but I think you can work in 3 hours
I agree.
if you book the show properly. Like at this point, like Rollins as a face is boring, and it's not because Rollins can't be an exciting face. It's just how they've booked him. They've booked him as a third wheel to this
Yeah.
Owens Jericho thing, and don't get me wrong, I love the Owens Jericho thing, but like I just it's not that difficult to implement Rollins in that without making him look like a boring face.
Yeah.
And like there are things like, all right, so the Sasha Charlotte match coming up in Hell in a Cell is supposed to be really really dramatic, and I'm looking forward to it. But like they've built it with no physicality going into it. It's all been interviews, and maybe I don't know, maybe that's because Sasha's nursing like her back a little bit, and they're trying to protect her. But like at this point, I'm a little more excited to watch the Lynch Bliss match
Right.
than I am the Hell in a Cell match with. Even though I am excited about the Banks Charlotte Hell in a Cell match, it's just
Yeah.
the way that the matches have respectively been built. SmackDown's done a better job of it.
I mean, let's talk about that just real quick because I might forget otherwise. Is that I made the strong statement that the women's division should only be on one show. It's in the best shape that it's ever been. Why in the world would you split that now?
Mm-hmm.
But wow, have I been pleasantly surprised to be wrong on that one. Becky Lynch. I mean, I was already a fan of Becky Lynch, but just watching her especially ever since the split, since she's gotten more of a spotlight, just watching her is so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
She's gonna be pretty far up there. I mean, my top three are Bailey, Banks, and Lynch, but I don't know, man. Lynch, she's up there. Like I love the SmackDown Women's division. Now, as for the Raw Women's, I'm really looking forward to that because I don't think that either Charlotte or Banks is willing to close out a show and not kill themselves to have the best match possible.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm really interested to see that. I don't think either one of them are going to let us down. I do somewhat question why they would have Banks do it when she's hurting, if she is hurting, if that's not just a work. But if she is really hurting, I question why they would have her do it and not have Bailey step in because Bailey's certainly ready.
Yeah, definitely.
But that being said, I mean, I'm still looking ridiculously forward to it. The booking, I think, is weird, and I think part of that is honestly that they have a lot of time to fill. And I don't even think that's within WWE's control anymore. I don't think they can just walk that back. I think they contractually have to provide X amount of programming to the network. But yeah, it's weird, you know. And none of this is to say that Raw has not improved from the show that it was. It certainly has. I mean, we have Owens and Rollins. Like, I mean, from before the split.
Yeah.
Like we have Owens and Rollins in the main event and for the belt. That's the matches have been okay. I think they've got better in them. I think we'll probably see that within the next little while. I always kind of saw this as a stepping stone for Rollins to get to Triple H.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that will push Rollins as an individual face. I do think that they need to sort of work on how he says and how he acts and whatnot, just because he's never really been a face ever, not in WWE.
The problem is, like, they're making him a face. They don't need to make him a face.
Yeah, he was already...
they just need to have him be who he was and just wrestle heels. That's all he legitimately. That is all he needs to do. He does not need to. He doesn't even need to. Yeah, he doesn't even need to stop cheating. He just needs to cheat against heels. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the bookers are just like so still. Like you would think that they would stop doing this now with the Reigns issue, and they kind of have a little bit, as you can tell on SmackDown, like with Ambrose doing what he's doing. Like, in SmackDown, they've kind of loosened up this whole heel face, like, cookie cutter dynamic. But, like, you can tell that on Raw, Rollins is definitely, like, being pushed into something that is not organic.
Yeah,
like,
they're missing something.
And it's not like they don't really need to do anything. They just need to let him be who he was when he was getting booed, and just have him fight heels.
Have him be the guy. I would say have him be the guy that he was when he was fighting Roman Reigns as a heel. But the crowd still cheered.
Exactly.
Because he was fighting Roman Reigns.
Exactly.
So, and I mean, certainly adding to that complication is that Kevin Owens is popular, despite their best efforts to the contrary.
Oh my God.
But it's because Kevin Owens is talented. And I mean, how would you... I think you could sort of say the same thing almost, in a way, about Owens as a heel. I think that is hard to do because Owens is genuinely likable. And part of the problem with having an extremely talented roster, which is not a problem they've run into very often, is that it is hard to get people booed. It doesn't mean you can't have them play a face and a heel if that's what you want to do. But, Owens' run as champion... I mean, with that whole Universal title clusterfuck at the beginning, I mean, that wasn't his fault, but it certainly doesn't help. Ratings, I mean, we don't have to mince words. Ratings has not been good. I certainly wouldn't attribute that to the fault of Rollins or Owens, though.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all. I think the problem is, like, I think WWE's booking team is too focused on getting one person booed and one person cheered. They should ignore all of that. They should just book good feuds. Like, I mean, again, I harken back to this again, but like the Ambrose AJ Styles feud has been a perfect example of this, where Styles is basically being cheered by everyone, no matter how like much of a heel he's being booked. Yep. And Ambrose is still getting cheered, but like, obviously when he's facing Styles, it's a completely different story. Like, but it's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It just people still love Ambrose.
Well, and Ambrose kind of leans into it in a way, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
In a way that I think really helps him.
Yeah,
he has a heelish edge to him. Yeah, it is organic, and he has a naturally heelish edge to him as well, to the point where they could even do something now where they had a straight up and down match, and maybe Dean cheats for the win.
Yeah.
They could switch them. It is really interesting. Before we kind of move on from that, though, speaking of Ambrose and Styles, great feud. What did you think of the James Ellsworth stuff?
I think if it leads to something like, if it actually leads to something meaningful, or it's fine. It's funny. It's been funny.
On paper, I hate it.
Yeah, on
But
paper,
actually watching it
it's been
is
hilarious.
actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's hilarious. But like last night when Ellswood came out and like beat up Styles. I mean, did you watch last night by chance?
Yep. Well,
Okay.
I watched the highlights.
Okay, so like you saw like they had the number one. If they had an Ambrose Styles match, and if Ambrose won, then he would be the number one contender.
Yep.
And here comes Ellswood, and he beats up Styles and thinks he did something good, and he actually got Ambrose disqualified, and that shit was funny as hell. Like it's just,
Yeah.
I think like. And again, I think it's just because it's organic to the characters that they have. Ellswood is seen as like this dopey motherfucker who just gets lucky.
Yeah.
And at this point, he did something real fucking dopey, and like you can kind of see Ambrose beating the shit out of him next week, but you can kind of see him getting cheered for that.
Well,
Inst-
and for sure,
yeah.
and I really don't mind some of this stuff. We talked about it like Mickey James. Like her thing could be a very short term arrangement. Tommy Dreamer and Rhino previously both had very short term arrangements with WWE, and it's fine. It's short. It's simple. This James Ellsworth thing
Mhm.
might be something very simple and very easily or very easy, but it's so unique. I just read he outsold Roman Reigns on T-shirts.
That's
James Ellsworth did that.
yeah. That is. I mean, I can see
Shitty
that.
for Roman.
Okay.
Extremely shitty for the Roman Empire shirt
Yeah.
or whatever the fuck that thing is.
Definitely.
But I mean, that's amazing. We that stuff doesn't happen very often.
No. So outside of that, like, has there been anything like that has kind of caught your eye or kind of like brought out some type of like emoted something out of you in the past
Well,
month or so?
this is all. I mean, we've talked a little bit about it in the thread, and I mean, this Goldberg Brock thing is fascinating to me.
Well, before we go into that, because I know we have we are half planned on talking about that at length. Can I
Yes.
just say, I've went from like lukewarm on this one guy for like the past 2 years to now
Okay.
being fully on board this train, and you are going to groan.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I don't think I know who this is.
But geez, I love me some Rusev. I do not know what happened. I
Okay.
don't know why. He's always been a decent worker in my eyes.
That's not the most offensive thing you've ever said. I've never hated Rusev.
Yeah.
I hate the Rusev gimmick. That's what or at least his initial one. I actually think he's kind of done well at moving past that.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. There's something about him that just screams main event like pretty soon. I don't know why. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I mean obviously that's just me being subjective. Maybe it's not something objective at all.
Right.
As far as that basis, but I don't know, man. That dude can wrestle his ass off. There's just something really unique to. It's the same thing that I felt from Kevin Owens.
Right.
Obviously, what I'm feeling right now for Rusev isn't as strong because I think what KO had was undeniable, and still is. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I feel like give Rusev another year in the right booking, and he is going to go extremely far. Like that dude is very like. I hate his finisher.
Yeah,
But
me too.
I will say the whole like the new torque that he adds to it, where it legit looks like he's about to break your back when he pulls you all the way back. That shit looks amazing. His matches with Reigns have actually, obviously they've been kind of like the first few matches have been shit because they've been like DQs and all that other bullshit. But like when he's actually carried Reigns to decent like work in the ring. And not to say that Reigns is bad in the ring at all. But I don't know. There's just something about Rusev that is just genuinely like you kind of want to root for the guy all the time. Like
I actually do not disagree with you on that. And it's like you said, I certainly wouldn't put him up there with Owens or my favorite workers or anything like that. But the interesting thing is, like, I can't even answer this question. But how long has Rusev been around now? 3 years?
something like that.
It's got to be 2 to 3. I don't think it's 4.
No, it's been 3 years.
So that gimmick is incredibly lazy and it's stupid, the one they first brought him in with. But the fact that he's been able to manage staying power with it at a pretty reasonable position on the card is pretty impressive. Obviously, Lana helps with that. They've moved past the sort of lazy nationalist stuff now. I don't know if they've done that consciously or if it's just something that's happened over time. But yeah, you're right. Rusev is certainly better than all the big foreign dudes they try to bring in. He's not Vladimir Kozlov. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, definitely.
And he absolutely has had decent matches with Reigns. I don't need that feud to continue.
No, not at all.
But I really like Rusev as an opponent, especially for some smaller guys. Sami Zayn is one. I would watch the shit out of that.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
I would love to, Rusev. I think main event is tricky with that gimmick, but the wrestler, yeah, no problem. As long as they don't move back to that whole I hate the United States, blah blah blah. And right now, I hate the United States. It's all that's on my TV right now. So I kind of hate it just because of overexposure. But no offense. But yeah. So, but yeah, no, I don't. I've never been so much against Rusev as much as the gimmick. Usually, it's easier. Usually it's easy for me to hate the guy and the gimmick because so often the guys that get to play those gimmicks also just happen to be horrible. But Rusev is not horrible. He never has been. I even thought the Cena stuff was all right. The matches.
Yeah, the Cena matches were good. I think a lot of that also has to do with me watching him on Up, Up, Down, Down. I think a lot of these side YouTube shows and all this kind of shoot social media shit really can help get people over who are stuck in shitty gimmicks. And I think that's what happened because Rusev comes off as real charming, just real just somebody you really want to root for.
Agreed.
And I think that's fantastic. I hope they really I hope you're right. I hope they kind of move him away from that gimmick more and more. I mean, new music might help. Him and Lana have already kind of transitioned away from talking about stupid crap. He can keep the flag. He can keep all that stuff. You just don't have to make it your whole thing. Yeah, that's true. Kind of like Cesaro.
Yeah, exactly. Bingo. It's always so much of what we say about WWE is it's easier than you're making it. And I think Rusev, just by virtue of being around this long, it's kind of happened naturally, and I think that's been good for him. From what you read, he's not always been in the greatest of standings within the company, but there must be something that they like in him too. Not that matters to me, but they must be something they like in him too for him to continue to be here.
That's true.
And at a reasonable level. I mean, at this point for Vladimir Kozlov, he was teaming with Santino or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very hard. And even if a guy does come in who is talented with that gimmick, it's very hard for those guys to go on, I think, and have decent careers. Your first pay-per-view is a main event with Triple H for the world title, and 2 years later you don't even make the pre-show. So, if a guy comes in who's actually talented, I feel bad for those guys. So I'm really glad that Rusev hasn't fallen in that trap.
Okay, so
now on the flip side of that, now hang on, because now that brought up something else for me. If I'm not mistaken, there's been a little bit of burying of Sami Zayn fairly recently.
Oh yeah, and I think they have him fighting feuding with Braun Strowman, which I don't see a positive.
He ain't gonna win that.
No, not at all.
And Braun Strowman is shitty. Let's bust another.
Yeah, he's horrible.
Braun Strowman is fucking terrible. So as much as we are in a better area that I am grateful for, it still does irritate me when I saw stuff like that. I think I saw Bo Dallas win a match recently.
Yeah, they against Curtis Axel. They're pushing Bo Dallas, by the way.
Yeah, Bo Dallas can go the Jack Swagger route, where every time they push him, people talks about how talented he is, and then when he goes to TNA in 2 years, people will talk about how WWE dropped the ball on him, even though that is 100% not the case.
Exactly.
So let's keep Bo Dallas off the screen, please. Barring some amazing wrestling ability that I'm not aware of, and also barring a complete gimmick change where Bray Wyatt. I'd love to see Bray Wyatt just take him and brainwash him and just beat the living shit out of him, and then we can either never see him again or he can be a creepy weirdo that lives in the woods. That's fine too.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Luke Harper's back. That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the most talented outside of Bray Wyatt, the most talented person out of the
Wyatt family member.
So, I mean, a lot of people
Yeah.
say he might be a little bit better of a worker than Bray.
The Wyatt family is such a weird, disjointed path since they started.
Yeah.
So, what is everybody on SmackDown except for Strowman then?
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't
Yeah.
remember where Rowan was at.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, okay. Well, Wyatt family, that problem just continues. We've talked about it before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes, Goldberg Brock. Boy, this is a fun one to sink the teeth into. So I don't know how much of the current audience relates to Goldberg, but fair is fair. They did a good job presenting him to anybody who might not be familiar with him. He came. I always figured that this was going to be a very Batista-like return.
Yeah, definitely.
That he was going to come back and he was going to get cheered for the return or whatever, and then it was going to go away pretty quick. I thought he might have a bit of a better chance because he was fighting Brock, and public opinion seems to go up and down on Brock like crazy. But the return night went very well. Goldberg's never been particularly proficient on a microphone, but I thought he did pretty well. I did think that the part about his kids seeing him wrestle was neat. You know, for a guy who, by his own admission, doesn't particularly love wrestling, and just seems grateful for the living that it has afforded him, which is great. Which is great and good for him.
Yeah, definitely.
It was neat to see that. Like, yeah, I'm probably going to hang out for a little bit. My kid's going to get to see me wrestle. This is kind of a bucket list thing for me. So all that is fine, and I can't remember where you landed on this. I know we chatted with the Classy guys about it. They're 100% in the tank for Goldberg now. I'm going to just run a few fun quotes by you in a bit here. But first of all, my point is, number one, Goldberg had an extremely short run in wrestling. A lot of people don't remember that. That run was plagued with a lot of injuries. A lot of people don't remember that either. The WWE run was not done well.
No, not at all.
I found it to be, and a lot of people blame booking for that. I don't know, man. There wasn't a lot going on. Like, it's not like Goldberg came into WWE at WCW Atlanta that one night in the Georgia Dome popularity. You know what I mean? Like, he had a great debut, same as he just had a great return.
Yeah.
The Rock threw himself around the ring like a ping pong ball to make Goldberg look good.
Which was very enjoyable.
It was great. Absolutely.
That feud was phenomenal to watch because of The Rock.
And The Rock was the perfect guy to bounce around for Goldberg.
Yeah, definitely.
You could not have started a run better than returning to the company, beating the shit out of The Rock, beating The Rock in a match, and and they gave him the belt. There was a lot of other dumb stuff going on around that time too, so that's totally fine. But then the Brock feud happened. You knew that it was the way they were going to go. There's two big, jacked up, intense guys in black tights that are both billed as unbeatable monsters. So you knew that, especially then, that it was something that they were going to do that you knew probably wasn't going to be very good. And then there was a whole backstage scene with Brock and Goldberg both leaving to the point that they knew it was going to be so horrible that they had to shotgun Steve Austin in the middle of the match to stun both guys and drink beer just to send the crowd home happy.
Exactly.
And the match was utter shit.
Yeah.
And the crowd hated both people.
Yeah.
Now we're here, 12 years later. Brock has had 15 wrestling matches, maybe.
Yeah.
In that time. Goldberg has had none since that exact match. And yet people get excited. And I think that's, I don't know if that's not even short-term, long-term memory loss or what. So you go ahead, help me out with this.
Okay, so I think there is some merit to this feud. Mind you, I don't care for it. But I think that, look, I hate nostalgia. I fucking hate nostalgia.
Yeah.
It's recycled garbage, and I don't like it. However, I have made peace with the fact that I am not the only wrestling fan in the world. And I know that there is a good portion of the wrestling audience that loves the hell out of that nostalgia shit. And that's fine. And that's where I think that there is some merit to seeing Goldberg come back for one more match.
Yeah.
Now that's the thing. One more match. That
Okay.
is all we need Goldberg for. We don't
Okay.
need him to come back and try to get a lengthy like Legends contract or any other bullshit. We don't need any of that. Goldberg was good in small doses before. He's gonna be good in an even smaller dose now. That is his limit. Now, as far as for fighting Lesnar, I don't see anyone else who could fit this bill. Like,
Well, okay.
no pun intended.
Yes.
But like,
Terrible.
yeah.
By the way, continue.
Like, I just don't necessarily see anything else really. Like, Samoa Joe is not on the main roster. In any case, I'd like to see Samoa Joe fight Lesnar and be the one to beat him.
Right.
Nakamura, same one, same as Samoa Joe. But like Bill Goldberg coming back to have one more match against Brock Lesnar makes a little more sense now than really anyone else, because Lesnar can make Goldberg look good.
Can he?
To some extent, yes, because of history. Because in the last match that these two have had, Goldberg won. Mm-hmm. So at this point, seeing Goldberg mount an offense against Lesnar doesn't necessarily seem out of this world. You know what I mean? It's like, it's believable. Kayfabe,
if it weren't for the fact that Goldberg is now 50 pounds lighter and hasn't had a match since that time.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you if you really look at it from a kayfabe standpoint, and mind you, again, I don't give a shit about this match or this build. Okay. But like,
well, I kind of am morbidly curious to see it, because I think they potentially face greater backlash than they did at WrestleMania.
I mean, they might.
The fans.
They might. However, like, what I'm saying is, like, you can kind of give a little bit of merit to maybe Goldberg's legitimacy in this match for mounting an offense. Now, with that said, there is no fucking way this makes any sense if he wins. Yeah. It does not make any sense for Goldberg to be booked to go over Lesnar. I hope to God that is not like a contractual thing that they had to put in order for
Goldberg. It's entirely possible.
It is. It's very possible. But I hope
they probably want to do a Goldberg DVD or a Hall of Fame induction. I certainly wouldn't put it past them.
And hey, that's fine. Hey,
that's all fine. They can do that all along. And the Legends contract you mentioned, if that's him going around and signing, signing autographs on the on-sale dates, or, guest hosting Raw. Oh, actually, I don't like guest hosts, so scratch that last one. Yeah. But, if it's him doing a WWE Network show, sure.
Yeah.
No problem.
I'm on board with that. That's fine. All right, that's fine. But, like, I don't want to see him in the ring any more than this one match. Because the whole point of this match is to draw money. This match has the potential to draw a lot of money.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Nostalgia is a very, very tangible thing in this business. However, him being booked to go over or look anything more than just a kind of legit threat to Lesnar on the basis of nostalgia, beyond that, it just doesn't make any sense.
I will be interested to see the Trashy Ring Attire Open votes for that match. I'm legitimately interested to see. After entering everything, since WrestleMania or just after WrestleMania, I kind of gotten a decent feel for, I think, where everybody would go with their votes when I see the match. But I legitimately have no idea how people are going to vote on this. I think I'll see more people going for Brock. I think.
I would assume so.
So here is Classy Ring Attire touched on this, and I think Joel mentioned something in the thread, but Classy Ring Attire touched on this, and Joel said it. He can't see the booking advantage to Brock winning. So since we've talked about the Lesnar thing before, and I know you're not as big on Brock as I am, and even I've mentioned, I'm not huge on Brock. It depends on the opponent.
Yeah.
And I like the big fight feel that he brings. I like the fact that he's the boss, that it seems like nobody can really beat. But the reason why that last part works so well is only predicated on the fact that eventually someone will beat him. Yeah. Because I cannot see them letting a guy who made his name in UFC, because he did, at least not that he didn't have a name from WWE, but who's What's going to get you more famous? Obviously,
Exactly.
UFC.
Yeah.
So I cannot see WWE letting a guy who made his name in UFC, who has shit talked them a lot, who genuinely seems to not care. I cannot see them letting that guy walk out on a win. Now, obviously, the key, and we've talked about people we'd like to see Brock lose to before. You mentioned Joe and Nakamura, 100%. AJ, no problem. You know, there's a lot of guys. I think Ambrose could have been that guy. I think Rollins could have been that guy. There are other options. There's a lot of options. So that to me is the value in Brock. And the only reason, well, one of the only reasons why I think the last few years with Brock has been great, because I know at some point somebody's going to get the win over him, the same as Brock got over the Undertaker. And then that person is made.
Yeah, definitely.
Assuming they go the right way with it after that. Now, if you have him drop to Goldberg, the 50-year-old dude who hasn't wrestled in 12 years, who we're never going to see again, probably, or at least not much of, I think that drastically diminishes the last couple years for Brock and what Brock can do going forward.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, I think it would be I think it would be a throwaway. I think it would throw away everything that Lesnar has done, like, in his entire return back. It just does not make any sense for and from what you're telling me about the what the Classy Boys, I haven't had time to actually listen to their latest episode, but I was planning on doing this either today or tomorrow during my workout. But I will say that, like, Joe and Sandy have been very much. I'll agree with them on a lot of things, but, like, on stuff like this, a lot of times they kind of fall victim to boredom. And I think that they're just looking for a way to rationalize something different happening with Lesnar. And see, but that's the problem here, is that, like, this match, the merits of this match is not based off of a different dynamic. It's based off of the nostalgia factor. Like, the drawing power of the nostalgia factor for this match, and it's a one-off match. It doesn't make any sense for Goldberg to win based off of that. The only long-term benefit from this match that we can see is another notch to Lesnar's belt.
Yeah, which is and we've talked about that too.
Exactly. And if, like, as you said, like, the eventual someone going over Lesnar is going to matter, this notch would definitely be something to add to that.
Well, and I mean, just to be clear, and we said this about the Orton stuff as well, you know, I understand building Brock's resume because I think it makes it more impressive, but that doesn't necessarily make it impressive to watch, much in the same way that I don't think Orton and Lesnar was very impressive to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and much like I don't think Lesnar and Dean was very impressive to watch. It could have been. It was just the way they just decided to go with it, even if Dean hadn't won. And I'm not so much advocating for Lesnar to beat Goldberg as much as I'm saying I'd be more in favor of them not doing the match at all. You know, of all the people we've mentioned that could beat Brock, I'd like to see Brock start fighting and beating some of those people and have one of them come out. And to me, that would make it mean even more. So I'd way prefer they went that way with it.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
Since they've got Goldberg, don't. Again, I'd throw this question to Joel too, and, you know, maybe I'll throw it in for a mail sack. What is the booking? He said that the booking advantage to having Goldberg beating Brock is that Brock has finally been beaten, and it means Brock can come back with an edge. I don't know that I need to see character development from Brock. I think he's different than that. I think he's a different type of wrestler.
Brock is, at this point, Brock is just long-term enhancement talent. I mean, like, let's be real here. Like, that is his purpose. His purpose is to eventually lose to someone, and whoever he loses to gets the biggest rub they can possibly get.
And I don't think the Brock thing should continue. And I think part of the Classy Guys' thing too is that they're kind of bored of seeing the Brock stuff, and that I do understand.
Yeah.
You know, in the way that I found the Orton match incredibly boring. I don't think Lesnar was never in any danger of losing that match. Pretty much everybody knew it. You could tell it from the crowd. And so the Brock thing cannot go on forever. I understand that. I don't think I would want it much more past next year's WrestleMania unless they start putting him against guys like Joe, like Nakamura. He can beat some of them, and then somebody can get one over on him, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
So that would be what I would, I think that they had a solid plan for Brock. I just think pacing it has been the problem.
Yeah.
He went straight from Undertaker to Cena in the space of several months on a part-time schedule. On a part-time schedule, a few months is not a lot of time. No. I would have thrown Orton in the middle of that.
I can see that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Have a couple rungs before the belt, and then anyway, I'm sure we all saw Lesnar get cheered and the Goldberg sucks chant at the Raw.
Yeah.
And they kind of attributed it. Well, Joel first tried to attribute it to a bad promo, which apparently Paul Heyman has said it was a bad promo. Yeah, it was a bad promo, but I don't think that the audience is purposely chanting that the guy isn't there. The guy who isn't there sucks because the guys that are there are cutting a bad promo. And then he said it was because it was Brock's hometown. Well, okay, I could see a little bit of merit to that. But then he pointed out the Survivor Series is in Toronto and that it's Canada. So they're going to cheer for Brock. I don't think it's just Minneapolis and Canada that's going to do it. I really don't.
That's one of them. And Joel is not necessarily one to be part of this usually. Yeah. But Jesus, if that's not one of the biggest examples of drinking from WWE's Kool-Aid.
Well, and that's how that's their go-to excuse whenever something happens in Canada they don't like. It's Bizarro Land.
Yeah,
are unbelievable.
Are we really
we're the alternate universe from Star Trek?
That doesn't make any sense.
We're you with healthcare and gun control. That's what we are. And there's no, it's going to be. It is going to be. I am looking forward to the match on that basis. By the way, I am interested to see what the crowd does because Classy has not aired since Raw this past Monday, where they did chant Goldberg sucks. And I am very interested to see. I'm very interested to hear. It sounds like we're cross promoting, but I am very interested to hear Joel and Chris's take on that. Just to see, maybe is it going to turn back into that thing where Minneapolis does it and they give him a pass because it's Brock's hometown, and they'll blame the booking for putting the heel's first promo against the babyface in the heel's hometown. Which, okay, fair enough. That's kind of an odd choice. But the week after that, is it going to be? Oh well. San Antonio was just following Minneapolis's lead. Shame on you, San Antonio. You know what I mean?
What was this whole argument seemed really weird to me because is Lesnar seen as a heel here? I thought it was just a match between two part-timers who were just
I think that's what they were going for.
I don't understand why this is and not to say that you discussing this right now doesn't have merit because I think we're right now just discussing what the Classy Boys have said, but I just don't know why there's such emphasis into oh well, Lesnar got booed or cheered because and Goldberg got cheered I don't understand this. They're both not really booked as heels or faces. They're just both booked they're just both being booked as legitimate threats.
Well, I think Goldberg, because he does have that nostalgia thing, I think he is being booked as a pretty strong babyface. And Lesnar, at least since the Roman stuff a couple of years ago, I think has kind of transcended that. I think whether he's a face or a heel depends on who he's wrestling. And I think that they definitely tended to lean more heel towards him, but without being a full-fledged heel these last couple of years, which is fine. But again, I really hope, it's going to be hard for them to win over the crowd in Toronto. Toronto's a big wrestling town. It's going to be hard for them to win over the crowd as it is. If they cannot pull off a decent match and the man hasn't wrestled in 12 years, then they have no chance. They're going to get eaten alive.
Which is going to be
Toronto will eat them alive. I have spent lots of time in Toronto.
Yeah.
It's the center of Canada's universe, and they will not show mercy.
But it's going to be so much fun to watch.
We're polite, but we're not that polite.
I think the reason that I and I'm sure you are looking forward to this, you say morbid curiosity. I am very much going to watch this, just like we would have potentially watched Randy Orton versus Batista at WrestleMania 30.
Our salad days.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you're 100% right, and much in the same way, I'm looking forward to seeing Joel and Chris's reaction to that match, because I really just can't see it being all that good. You know, even though I do tend to go more on the Brock side these days, again, Brock's matches with Triple H were not good.
No.
His matches with The Undertaker were not good.
No.
It very much depends on who he's wrestling.
Yeah.
And again, Goldberg hasn't wrestled in 12 years.
Yeah.
What are you doing? I don't understand it. I mean, and it's, I think the other thing that makes it so liable to fail is that it's so obviously just a video game play for them. It's obviously about the game. They don't care about anything else.
It was just, it's so weird. It's just really fucking weird. It's just, I mean, like I said, I get that there's merit in the match. I've argued that there is, but like, just like a potential, like, why didn't they push for Taker Sting with the same ferocity? It's just, that was a video game match that everybody was playing. I mean, I don't know. This is fucking. This TNA.
It is interesting though. Like, you know, in this day and age, I really didn't think we'd have to worry about this kind of thing. They seem to sort of have moved beyond us. But I mean, this is the Batista thing all over again. And you remember that after the Batista thing happened, the Classy guys they watched a DVD, I think, of Batista where they played sad music and they talked about how hurt his feelings were over you know, people choosing Bryan over him. And I mean, credit to Batista, he never wanted to do that run the way he did, so that's totally fine. But that's all it took. Sad music is all it takes for Chris and Joel. They're very sweet in a way. You know, they're sweet in the way that you would think someone from Canada would be, whereas I tend to be a heartless prick half the time. But it is very much in a way. You know, Goldberg, I came back from my kid, boom, Joel's on board. And not that there's anything wrong with that.
There isn't, but it was very strange, and I mentioned this in the comments, or not in the comments, but in our thread, where I was like, it's funny how I am the only parent out of the four of us, and I did not get any type of, like, when I watched that Goldberg promo, I was rolling my eyes more than The Undertaker was. Like, throughout that entire thing, I was like, oh my god, is he really going to milk the kid thing? Like, is he going to do this the entire promo? He did, and that's exactly what he did. The entire. Yeah. Oh my god.
Where to the point where it's like, listen, Bill, I understand you want you to see your kid wrestle. That's sweet. I don't see why I should have to suffer.
No, exactly. No, I mean,
and the only reason I'm going to is because of morbid curiosity, not because I want to see you. I want to make that distinction.
I say this. I say this with full-fledged confidence. And again, very subjectively. The only person or people that can save that match for me is the Toronto crowd. And I have full faith. I have full faith that they will.
My people will not let you down.
No. They haven't since. I mean, you know, you guys do continue to support Drake. I don't know why, but other than that, you guys. Well,
I know we're loyal to a fault at times, but and I mean, fair's fair. We did cheer Hogan over the Rock at 18. Even after Hogan tried to murder The Rock with a semi-truck. Yeah. But anyway, it is going to be interesting. I mean, they could always roll Steve Austin up there again if they wanted to.
Oh my god!
Give him that 8-wheeler or whatever the hell it was he had at the time, the ATV. Yeah. Get him out there and he could chug some beers.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to risk Austin being paralyzed due to just saving this match. I'll be fine with the Toronto crowd just shitting on this. With half of their intensity, of half of their potential, it'll be fine. It'll just be a lot of fun to watch.
What else? Do we got anything else to cover?
There's one more thing that we probably should just skim over at least a little bit.
All right.
And that's the Hell in a Cell card this Sunday.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and read out the matches.
Please.
And then we can just, briefly discuss each of them and,
Sure.
All right, so let's see. We have a 6-man tag match that seems like it's just been thrown the fuck together. Cedric Alexander, Lince Dorado, and Sin Cara versus Tony Ness, Drew Gulak, and Daivari.
So cruiserweight division, obviously.
Yep, definitely.
Surprise! It does seem like it's been thrown together, but it's the cruiserweight division. They haven't really developed a whole lot in the way of a structure there yet.
That's true.
So I assume that's to get the crowd going. That's cool.
It'll be fine. It shouldn't be a bad match.
Most of those guys were pretty good on CWC. So I actually didn't even see that on the Wikipedia card, and I was doing up the Open today. So yeah, okay, that's I don't see any way that's going to be bad. You know, it's probably going to be a cruiserweight spot fest.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you know,
Next match, Bailey versus Dana Brooke.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. I actually like Dana Brooke in the ring and outside, and of course Bailey's amazing. But like
She's all right. Yeah, Dana Brooke's all right.
Yeah. Next match, Enzo Amore and Big Cass versus Gallows and Anderson.
I did see that one on, and I'm actually looking really forward to that. A tag team undercard match.
Definitely.
Versus two talented teams. I think that match will probably end up getting overlooked. I think it could end up being pre-show fodder. But Enzo and Cass as a team, particularly when Cass flirted with a singles run there, you know, they've kind of been out of sight, out of mind. I think I think that's great. I'm looking forward to it. And Gallows and Anderson, they kind of dropped the ball on those guys with no AJ too. So I think either team winning works there.
Exactly. I hope that they kind of get focused on booking these two teams well.
I hope they give them some time.
I'm sure they. Well, I'm not sure they will, but yeah, they definitely deserve it. They definitely deserve it. Perkins versus Kendrick again for the Cruiserweight Championship.
Can we talk about this for a second? I've enjoyed the shit out of this.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun to watch.
Both guys.
Yeah.
I think both guys are equally valuable signings. I really did not think we were going to see Kendrick on the main roster. This thing that he's doing is just, this character that he's got is just so sad. This kind of last chance thing. It's something that I've never really seen anything quite like it before. But I think it works. I think it works really well. And the matches have been phenomenal. I can't see Kendrick winning this.
No, I can't either, but that's okay. I love Perkins, man. That dude is amazing.
Yeah, Perkins is awesome.
Yeah. Let's see. For the tag championship is going to be the New Day and versus Cesaro and Sheamus. I'd like to say that I've actually enjoyed the Cesaro Sheamus thing. I know it comes with the side baggage of Sheamus in the ring.
Yeah.
And I know Cesaro is way better than this, but I've always been a fan of watching Cesaro develop character. Hopefully this is just a way for him to do that. And the New Day, you know, they're always good.
New Day is always good. I'm kind of almost over it now. They've certainly had a good run, and I'm always of the opinion that rather than run something into the ground, I think it's been 2 years now. 2 years of good too, probably 2.5 years of the horrible part. But over 2 years ago, I think it might be time to kind of wind that thing down. I'd like to see one or if not all of the guys go on to do other things. SmackDown, Raw, doesn't matter. So, and that's not to say I don't like them. I don't like seeing them. But yeah, and Cesaro, Sheamus, unfortunately, Sheamus is the side dish nobody ordered. Yeah, it's for the wrong table. So I can't. I'm having a hard time getting into it. I like the story. Do you know what I mean? We haven't had an unwilling tag team partner story in a while, and depending on how it's done, those can be really entertaining.
Yeah, exactly.
And there are multiple ways you can go through them. And Cesaro's there, so I've watched. But I mean, it's Sheamus. I can't. The big bottle of milk. The big bottle of milk will never work for me, and in a lot of the same ways that the Miz will never work for me.
I can understand that.
All right,
100%. So now we go into our 3 Hell in a Cell matches, starting with for the U.S. title, Roman Reigns versus Rusev. And like I told you, I'm actually looking forward to this.
I think it's got potential. Yeah. Big guys in a cell doesn't always work, but I think these guys have at least a shot at it. Should be good. I'm ready for this to be over. I think Hell in a Cell is kind of a natural conclusion to it, though.
Yeah,
which
definitely,
is nice.
definitely. Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship. This is going to be incredible.
Really looking forward to this one, especially since I can't really pick a winner. I see Seth Rollins moving on to Triple H, but I don't know if that gets the title or needs the title. I can see the merit for it having the title because people will want Triple H not to have the title so badly.
Exactly.
That would be a fantastic way to get people behind Seth. If Owens wins,
I mean, his next feud is going to be with Jericho.
That seems modeled to me after the Owens Carino thing from ROH. To me. I don't know how much you've seen of that.
I actually have recently just kind of binged Kevin Owens' ROH days.
Yes.
No,
Really good stuff.
yeah, I've seen the matches. I haven't necessarily followed like the entire build, but yeah, from what I can tell, it kind of does definitely have a good sense of that with Owens and Jericho.
And I like the idea of it. My fear of it with a your average Raw crowd, I think that may have been more built for NXT than Raw. And that's not to say that I think they can win them over. I just
Hmm.
think it's not typical, and sometimes that's hard to get over, especially since the crowd is not really supposed to like either guy. And to me, that's kind of what makes it fun.
Yeah,
To me,
exactly.
that's kind of what I look forward to. But I don't know how well that's going to get over on the main stage. I can just see the online comments about both guys being fat, and that's why ratings are suffering.
Yeah,
So I do worry about it a little bit from that aspect. But personally, I'm looking very forward to it. So
yeah, definitely.
yeah,
And of course, the first ever women's Hell in a Cell match for the women's championship, Banks and Charlotte.
I think Charlotte's going to take this.
You think so?
I think so because I can see number one, if Sasha's got a bad back,
Hmm.
then I can see them giving it to Charlotte. And even aside from that, I can see Bailey being the one to get over Charlotte because they got to be pretty super happy with Bailey as a character and as a role model. Not that they should be happy with Sasha,
Hmm.
but I think Bailey, the signs and everything else, and I
Hmm.
think it will make them. I'm not saying this is a good idea, but I think it's going to make them want to have Bailey beat Charlotte and then Sasha go heel on Bailey. I mean, it worked when they did it in NXT.
I think I'm gonna go the other way around. I
Okay.
think that like the story between I think in order for Bailey to go over someone, they have to go over a very credible heel.
Yeah.
However, Charlotte's already been built as that credible heel. I think
Yep. You're right.
I think the best way to book this is have Banks win, and not only that, it's in her hometown of Boston. I kind of choke
Ah, I did not realize that.
I'm choking a little bit saying that because my favorite wrestler is
You have
from
problems with Boston,
a
yeah.
little
You've got
bit,
beef in
but
Boston. Yes, I forgot.
as a New Yorker, it's just
Right.
but like I feel like Banks is gonna win. I think she's gonna start her heel turn after this, her slow burn heel turn,
Okay. Yeah, I could see. You know what? I could see. I never thought about that. I could see that too.
and it will be a lot of fun to watch. Either way, I think these two. I think you're 100% right. If this match goes on last, which it has a very high potential of doing, it's either going to be this match or the Universal title match. These two are going to try to kill each other. I hope they don't do it too much. They don't really have to,
No.
especially since it's a Hell in a Cell match. They can slow down the pacing a little bit, but it'll be a lot of fun to watch. I'm sure. Whoever wins, it doesn't really matter. But if they were smart,
Yeah.
if they were smart, they'd let Banks win and like long term booking wise, have Bailey go over her at WrestleMania.
Yep. Any outcome here, I am fine with. But I mean, I'm so far in the tank for Sasha and Bailey, or Sasha and Bailey that that would be the win I'd like to see, especially since Sasha did kind of get robbed at Mania.
Yeah,
Everybody thought she should have taken that. And her hometown in the first ever women's cell match would be it wouldn't just be winning a title match. It would be a little bit more than that for her.
yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah,
So everybody better remember to vote for the damn thing.
yeah. It actually
I
looks like a
bet,
pretty decent card.
and I better remember to put the cruiserweight match in there.
Oh, you should definitely. That looks like a pretty decent opener. If that's
Yeah,
going to open.
I also should apologize to everybody, and WWE should also apologize to everybody for the last entry, which was the SmackDown one.
Yeah, No
I
Mercy.
put it up.
I think.
Yeah, I put it. Oh, sorry. Yeah, No Mercy. So I put it up a few days early, and then a couple matches weren't announced, and one match was changed, and then Becky got injured. So, like, the issue is I put it up on Friday, and people only have a couple days to vote, and some people will almost miss it. But if I put it up too early, they change the whole fucking thing. So so from now on, it's going up on Fridays, Friday mornings. I don't really want to put it up any later than that, and then I'll just go with whatever card they have announced. But I think this one looks pretty final, and yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
The card actually looks pretty decent. There's nothing on there that I'm really think is a waste of time. So whatever they're doing with Bo or Braun, at least they're not killing time on the pay-per-views, which is pretty much what I watch.
God, what the hell is happening with what's her name? She's not even on the card. I've just realized. What's her name?
Oh, The Rock, Nia Jax?
Nia Jax. Yeah, what happened to Nia Jax? She's not even on the card. They were building her pretty heavily.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't totally care.
Okay, well,
I'm not that I hate Nia or anything, but compared to what's actually made it, I don't think Nia would be on my list.
Yeah, I'm fine with this. This is
and
good.
they've got two deep. Oh, I almost did it again, but I stopped myself.
You did.
See that?
You did. Yeah,
progression. They've got 2 women's matches on the card, so these are the two I'd like to see.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So I guess let's definitely make sure we do one of these before Survivor Series weekend, because we'll have NXT. We'll have NXT to talk about too.
Oh,
which
yeah, that's right.
I could do a full hour on Joe Nakamura. So
definitely.
All right. Well, for now, everybody, don't forget to vote in the TRA Open this weekend. You can follow us on Twitter at TR Attire. You can follow myself at BD_CRA. You can follow my friend Jonah here at JonahQ, KUE. Check us out on Inside Pulse Wrestling and subscribe to us on iTunes. It's the easiest way to get the new shows. Congratulations to Widrow, who pulled ahead of Sawyer in the past TRA Open and now has a 2-point first place lead.
Wow!
Congratulations. He's placed really well this year.
Yeah, legit.
And Sawyer really dropped the ball. He was first place. Now he's third. Get it together, Sawyer.
Come on, man.
And I think that's all I got.
Yep. Same here.
All right, everybody, keep it trashy.
Keep it trashy.
Young nigga, but I'm ready. Oh, foreign girls call me sexy. You sexy. And white girls give me Becky. But first I gotta roll this joint.